everyone, this is Nick Murray, and welcome to our episode of TrailerSound this week. We've got an absolutely amazing show lined up for you today. First off, I want to apologize a little bit for last week's show. We had some audio problems, some echoing, but we've got that all worked out, and we shouldn't have any issues with that. Before we get to today's guests, we like to thank our sponsors. Our first sponsor today is soundtracksandtrailermusic.com. Make sure to check them out for the latest info on trailer releases, new composers, new trailer companies, interviews, etc., etc. You can also find them on Twitter at TrailerScore. The show is also brought to you by Switch Trailer Music. It's artist-driven trailer music. Check them out at switchtrailermusic.com. So today, we're here live with Mike Patti and Sam Estes from Cinesamples. How's it going, guys?
Great, Nick. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I'm guessing we're expecting a couple guys to come still. Is that right?
We are. We got Noah is stuck in the 405 traffic right now, and I think Mike Barry. Sounds like I think he just walked in the door. So someone just walked in. They'll be joining us in just a minute.
Okay, excellent.
I'll yell at them later.
So for those of you who don't know, I'm pretty sure everyone knows who's watching the show who you guys are. But if you don't know.
Here's Noah Gladstone.
All right, come on down.
Hey.
Hey, Noah, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. Is it just me, or are you guys wearing matching sweatshirts?
We are.
Well, not entirely matching.
Oh.
I grabbed the wrong one this morning.
Oh, yeah. Well, we have
two companies represented.
Yes, this is the Cinesamples hoodie. This is the Hollywood scoring hoodie.
Okay, so that's actually helpful. So now I know who to ask when we're talking about the different things. Got it. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and introduce you guys a little bit first. Maybe you can go down the line and just talk a little bit about your name, what you're doing here, what are you working on, or something briefly, and then we'll get into more stuff. So Sam, should we start with you?
Sure. I'm Sam Estes. I am manager for Cinesamples, so I'm in charge of making sure things work, I hope, and updates get done, and samples get done, and sample recording sessions get done. I also help with doing sound design, other miscellaneous tasks for the other Hollywood scoring and whatnot. Yeah, I guess I'm currently working on a big update. Can I say what the update is?
Yeah, sure.
All right. We're doing the big update to Voxos. We have all new recordings, and I'm remixing the whole thing, recutting the whole thing, and it's going to be awesome.
It's fun times. Fun. That, and also, what about the percussion?
Yeah, we have a percussion version 1.1 update coming out with several new sample patches. We re-denoised the vibraphone. We made some big hit sounds. We made some swishes. Redid the entire bass drum samples, so all the noise is gone now. And yeah, it's going to be a pretty big update. There's lots of little tweaks and all kinds of stuff you'll be able to see on our website very shortly.
Cool. We'll get into that a little bit more in a second, especially for people who may not be using those samples yet, and we'll talk a little bit about the current CinePerc and more about the update, et cetera, et cetera.
Some people might not know what Cinesamples is.
No,
they might not, oddly enough.
Believe it or not.
Well, Cinesamples is the world premiere. We do samples for various composers and
The best
samples recorded at Sony with LA players, trying to give you that Hollywood sound, and that's pretty much what Cinesamples is. We give you the best possible libraries we possibly can, and easy to use, and just right out of the box playable, and mixed by Dennis Sands mostly, and it's just great libraries. You love them as a composer.
Well, as a composer myself, I use them daily. I used the Cinebrass extensively on the NBA Finals theme song last year, a year ago already. Wow. And then I know on our big trailer project we just recorded and finished up. Adam Gubman, who was on our show a couple weeks ago, used your Piano in Blue on probably at least half of the album on all his piano tracks. So I know a bunch of people using your stuff. Really great stuff. Cool. So Mike, tell us a little bit about you.
I'm Mike Patti, and I'm one of the co-founders of Cinesamples. Me and Mike Barry started this thing 5 years ago, and our first library was a tiny harp library and we spent $700 on that library, and that was the rent for the month. So we didn't eat for a month to make that first library, and put that out there, and that was the first thing, and it just kept growing from that day forward. So
wow. So when you listen back to those harp samples now, do they hold up?
Yeah,
Does the $700 hold up to your own standards now?
Oh yeah. I mean, we did it in a small studio with it was a student harpist in New York, actually, and we nearly killed her. She had these blisters on her fingers, and it's like 7 hours of recording. It was,
wow.
It was awful.
Wow, intense. Okay, so Noah, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm Noah Gladstone. I am an orchestra contractor here in LA, and as well as a trombonist. And I work with Mike Patti and Mike Barry. We co-founded Hollywood Scoring, which is kind of an umbrella company for the other companies, being in that we offer all sorts of music services from composing, contracting, studio booking, music prep, whatever. So like a one-stop shop for composers where they can come and if they have a project that they've already written, we can just record it for them and get it done. Or if they need something from composition to end product, we can do that as well. So kind of an exciting thing. The idea being creating more work here in Los Angeles using a Hollywood sound, and hopefully, as we've spoken before, getting some trailer work here and video games, and really focusing on those kinds of new interactive media and growing music services rather than, not that we would take a movie, but kind of exploring in that direction, since that's kind of a new fun frontier, I guess.
Yeah. And the goal with Hollywood Scoring is to create a one-stop shop. Right now we have 3 full-time composers that work for us. It's just they're salaried, and they work from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and just compose music all day.
So a salaried composer, that job is...
they're not freelancers.
Wow.
They full-time job, and they just...
they write music.
They have their own rigs, we bought them PCs and Macs, and they're pretty awesome setups, and they just write music all day on the projects that come through here. And it's pretty cool. We're growing pretty quickly here.
I'm sure a lot of our viewers would like to be in that position. I don't think a salaried composer is some job opportunity most people are going to find on Craigslist. How do you find your composers? Do you take demos? Do you get some people moving in and out often, or do you have like a core group of guys that are going to be with you the next 10 years? And how do you kind of go about that?
Oh, well, I mean, we're always looking for more composers. We're always looking for demos from people. I mean,
send them to M. Barry.
Yeah. It was a few weeks ago. I think Mike Barry posted something on Cinesamples, and he posted some sketch, and a lot of people sent in some really awesome stuff. And like, here's the sketch, here's the notated sketch. Now make a mock-up of that.
Okay.
And something like 100 different really awesome.
Yeah, it was really hard to choose.
Yeah, and we actually hired one person, Anne, who's with us now.
Oh wow, that's excellent.
From that post. So every once in a while, I think we'll probably put out a feeler for.
As the company grows, the idea is to hopefully just keep, expanding, so we can offer positions, salary positions for the entire company at some point.
So make sure you like Hollywood Scoring, because that's
yeah, it's kind of a cool concept. A little bit of a throwback to the old Hollywood studio model from the 30s and 40s and 50s.
Wow.
So, and we're running out of space. We're actually, right now, we're at Sonic Fuel Studios in El Segundo, and we take up 3 of the rooms up here, upstairs, and we're busting at the seams.
Wow.
The guys, they're all working on headphones now, because we got, in one room, there's 2 composers in one room. You're sharing a room here with Hobie.
Bunk beds pretty soon.
Yeah, so we're,
Wow, so you guys, so you run Cinesamples, you're sampling, like, crazy madmen over there left and right, and then I'm guessing are your staff composers also chopping up samples and editing and working on that side as well, or?
No, we really try to keep things separate.
Sam, you're shaking your head as if you wish that someone was doing that.
I totally wish, but no, I mean it's perfectly fine. I mean, both Hobie and I are able to and Dan Nicovan as well, are able to pretty much do most of the workload. We have a very, very tight system. I mean, we've been doing it for 5 years now, not with Cinesamples, with a different company. We've been doing it for 5 years. We've got a very, very fast workflow. We went through the whole percussion library chopped in about a month, which was over 200,000 samples. And,
yeah.
I mean, we're very quick.
Sam doesn't sleep either.
No,
he has
yeah,
a Lazarus
okay.
chamber. He kind of recharges in and then goes back to work. He's crazy.
But part of the fun part about my job specifically is that I'm able to help fuel the powerhouse music and Hollywood scoring with not only new sample content, but stylized individual instruments, as well as sound design and various patches that we can create specifically for various projects. So some of the projects that we've done, I've had a lot of fun, going in and tweaking some sounds and making some specific sounds to capture kind of what that project is supposed to sound like. And so that's kind of the synergy that we have with
It's
Right. We have our own
Cinesamples.
in-house custom sample
it's a
department,
music department. We have an entire functioning music department here, and it's kind of cool to have build that team and see everyone be really great in their role and pump out really cool products. So
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean,
it's a lot of fun, very exciting.
We're kind of scrappy right now, but we're growing.
Yeah, I think a lot of composers all around the world would love to have a team of people sampling for them, sampling live orchestras, percussion ensembles, etc., etc. So that's pretty amazing that you guys have that set up now, and are making money on the back end selling the stuff. So it's pretty much a win-win from my point of view. So let's focus a little bit more on the Cinesamples side of things, and then we'll go back and talk about all the projects you're doing with Hollywood scoring. I want to talk a little bit about the League of Legends music too. We'll get to that, and then I also want to make sure we have time to talk about this odd concept of you guys are selling high-end samples and making them, and you have a company that's all about live orchestral recordings so that people don't have to use samples. And how does that work together for your everyday composer? And from your guys' point of view, because all of us who are all scattered all around the world have our theories about that, but we want to hear it straight from your mouths. So we'll get to that. That's a hard topic, but let's talk more about the Cinesamples stuff first, and then we'll get to that. So I actually want to play a video here. I'll let you guys choose which one. I've got both the CinePerc teaser and the CineWinds teaser. Perc? Okay. Let's go ahead and play the CinePerc teaser for our viewers, and they can see the quality that you guys are producing here. And then we'll have a chance to talk about it. So let me pull this up here. So CinePerc is absolutely amazing. I've been using it now for quite a while. I've got all 4 packs of it. Sam, could you talk a little bit about the different versions and what's currently available, and then maybe talk a little bit more about the stuff that you're adding to it?
Sure. Well, we've got 4 libraries. Period. We have Core, Pro, Epic, and Aux. Core is kind of the bread and butter percussion. That's pretty much anything that you would use if you were Brahms or Beethoven, or kind of the more classically pre-Stravinsky era. So it's like bass drums and snare drums and timpani and, you know, glockenspiel and various things. Then Pro is kind of more of the Stravinsky post-era, so that's more things like vibraphone, marimbas, and stuff like typewriters and various quirky kind of instruments. And then we have Epic, which is more for the trailer style composing, big hits and, you know, big group ensembles, you know, taikos and surdos and just big sounding percussion. And then we have Aux, which is all the color instruments. It's, you know, things like bongos and congas and various types of shakers. So between those 4 libraries, you can pretty much cover your entire spectrum. One of the nice things about the library is that they're all extremely versatile, not only in the number of round robins and velocities and various, you know, things like dead strokes and triple strokes and, you know, whatever. But all the microphone positions contained within, you can get a nice big full mix, which was from Dennis Sands. You can get a quad mix with a 0.1 and LFE channel on most of the Epics and the big low sounding stuff. So you actually have a separate LFE channel. And then you have, you know, like a room and a surround. And you also have a close mic, overhead mic, and a mid-room mic. So depending on how you want to place your stuff, if you want it nice and small and kind of like that 60s style film score sound, you could do that. Or if you want the big epic, you just throw on your surrounds and lots of verb and stuff. And it's really amazing what the library can actually do. I'm very impressed with what was able to be accomplished. And we're going to be posting a few more demos online that you can actually hear the difference between a lot of the microphone positions, and you can see how small it can get and how big it can get. So that's kind of the gist of what was in our original library. With what's coming out with version 1.1 is we went through and we hand denoised all 8,000 samples. It means actually taking it into isotope and actually going in and removing clicks and ticks and getting the noise level down and whatnot. We went through 8,000 samples doing that to get the bass drums done, both bass drums, because they were just a little too noisy on the soft, and then some ticks. It sounds amazing now. We also did that with the vibraphone. That was 11,000 samples. So it takes some time to do this kind of stuff, but those were the 2 big ones that I wanted to accomplish for this update. We also added pulley sticks to the aux library, which is a completely free new patch. These they're Hawaiian like rods that were splayed ends, and they're the best tickies. That's what we call them. You know, tick, 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 kind of stuff that you could possibly use. They're amazing sounding. We have both group and singles of that. And then for the Epic library, we went through, redid a bunch of glow hits. So we took a lot of, like, everything in this is from our CinePerc library. So we took a bunch of stuff together, you know, did some compression, did some...
All right, I think people are starting to...
All right, fine, whatever. Answer questions.
Lots and lots of stuff. You know...
We made this library to be really easy to use. And
yeah.
We're composers. Our motto is samples by composers for composers.
The FUBU model.
And, yeah. And so it's just really easy to use. It's programmed really intuitively, and you know, you'll find your hits always are on C and D. You know. Right. And if you try a different drum, just transpose it up an octave. It's real, you know.
Real easy to use.
Yeah, that's the whole point of the library, and I don't know, we're proud of it because it's the first percussion library, commercial percussion library we recorded at a scoring stage in Los Angeles, and there was definitely a lot of interesting hurdles we had to overcome to make that a possibility. So.
Yo, I love the different quick mic settings you can use. You can do the Dennis Sands mix or the close or ambient or trailer, and if if you need to compose fast, if you're doing a TV project or whatever, and you got to do something quick, you can just check out the different sounds and you're out the door. It's really excellent. And then also I love the different actual mic settings with the LFE and the surround mics and everything like that aren't just mixed into one big sample file, because you know, on this last project we just did for our stems to send to the mix engineer, if we were using, say, the Surdos patch, we would bounce all the different mic settings as stems and then have the mix engineer place them in the correct spots, and it just sounds awesome. So, you know, kudos to you guys for going that extra mile and and doing all that extra programming and stuff, when probably most of the time people don't use all that stuff, but it's there if you do and if you need it. So it's pretty cool. So how do you say it's, you guys are composers. How'd you go around, or go from one day sitting on your couch wishing you had samples X, Y, and Z to actually saying, you know what, we're going to do it. We're going to make these samples better than what exist, and we're going to do it right, and like for real, we're not just going to talk about it for a while, because composers always want new stuff. They always want better samples. How did you take it to that next step of actually doing it yourselves?
Like from the very first library,
yeah, was it something you planned on for a long time? Like, you know what, I love composing, but I really want to get into sampling, or was it just more of a?
I don't think anyone actually a desire to decide to do sampling sessions for a living.
Exactly.
But when I first started, I was at USC 10 years ago. I was doing a lot of additional music for other composers and doing like mock-ups for guys, and I was always looking for certain types of samples that just didn't exist. So that's what spurred the idea to do the harp Gliss library. We just really did it for our own work, to make ourselves sound good, And then we had the idea to put it up on a website and sell it to other people. And people actually bought it. I was like, what? So it was it wasn't even called Cinesamples at the time. I think it was just a domain name, cineharp.com. Really bad HTML website that I made, with a PayPal link, and and it sold something like 20 copies in 2 weeks, which was like huge, and made our money back, that $700 that we spent for the session, and made a little bit of a profit, and then we just took it all and did another library. We did, I think, Cinetoms or something was the second one, and then we did Drums of War after that, and then Hollywood Winds was the next one. And each project kept getting bigger and more ambitious. And then we finally were like, you know what, let's do brass at Sony, in LA. And we did that under an AFM contract. It was so awesome. All the players get residuals, and we're going to hope to keep doing that the same way. And, and then our last thing was the most ambitious thing, the percussion, which was ridiculous. Right. 2 weeks of recording.
So, do you still find time to compose, or are you swamped in these other projects and sampling and editing samples? And
well, ever since we hired this guy, because now he's done all of he's taken on that the brunt of the work. So now our focus has become more Hollywood scoring stuff.
So before we go to that, let me ask you one question about samples. Since you guys are composers, and I think most people who do samples are anyway, but who would you say are your main competitors? And do you ever have not composer envy, but sampler envy, where you hear another library that came out or a sample, and you're like, man, I wish we thought of that, or that's actually sounding really good, or something like that, without underselling your product, but who else is doing a good job out there that you guys are like, maybe your competitors or something like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, the guys who are doing this from the beginning, I think VSL has been around forever. Those guys kind of started it, right? And Project Sam, those guys are great, and even East West, those guys have been doing it forever, and they're kind of like the first to really do big, orchestral sampling. And, we have a respect for all our competitors. And,
so why do you...
of course, there's some friendly competition, so we all say things on the forums, just little jabs here into each other, but it's all kind of, I think it's all just in fun.
And honestly, anyone who chooses or gets sucked into doing sampling, it's rewarding 5% of the time. And it's a lot of dreary doldrum chopping and editing, but the exciting thing for me is to really focus in on how do I actually capture these individual performances, because that's what they are, and how do I make that individual performance translate to something that's going to work on the keyboard. And
so how do you do that? How do you take a snare hit and make that the best snare hit we've ever heard that's going to work in my trailer production? If it's not, say, a nice legato ethnic wind sample treatment?
You're gonna get Sam talking about a bunch of stuff.
In 1 minute, 1 minute answer.
This will be your most boring episode ever.
No. Okay, we'll move on in a sec. But this is a real thing. Like, I do wonder, when you say, we're gonna make these amazing samples with a lot of heart and soul behind it, really unique. How do you do that? If you.
Well, it's. I won't get too technical here. I promise.
Right.
It's choosing the right player, putting the right engineer into the right room.
Okay.
And capturing that sound is the most important thing.
So if I decide to record a CinePerc competition in my basement with a couple microphones, maybe I get really good instruments per se. Probably not going to sound the same as what you guys have done in Sony.
Yeah. And so.
Well, look, I'll just say, like, all the best libraries that have kind of withstood the test of time are the ones that were recorded really well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's some samples that were recorded in the early '90s that still sound really great today because they were recorded in a big room with proper microphones. So I think that's where it starts.
Yeah.
Well recorded, and also I think the caliber of musician really helps a lot too. And
which is why CinePerc sounds so good, is because we have these great Hollywood musicians performing these one.
Well, yeah, and it's more like it's sampling is a very technical, and you want to have a very consistent performance, very staccato and every legato. So
we have a question online that's kind of along this same topic, so I'll ask it here. This is from Mash3.
It's Greg.
He says,
it's Greg.
Do you know who this is?
Hi, Greg.
Oh. All right, Greg. I don't know who you are, but hi, Greg. He says, please discuss. One sec. It says, please discuss what do Cinesamples feel was wrong with other sample libraries. We don't want any bashing, but maybe. And then he says, what sets them apart? So maybe if it's not sample or envy, what do you guys? Well, we'll just say what he said. What's wrong with other sample libraries, and what sets you apart?
So what makes us so awesome?
I guess we kind of already talked about it.
Sam is awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
Sam is
awesome.
Is the mad scientist.
It's when a sample library is not successful, and it's not been cut properly, it's not been recorded properly, it's not been performed properly. There are very, very few libraries out there that are that way. I think something that sets me apart from other sample developers is my OCD-ness of just every single sample has to be correct. And sometimes it's...
Yeah, that's why we don't announce release dates for anything. Because Sam will always find one little thing that no one cares about except him, and he'll just work on it for like 3 weeks. But
it's even like going in and doing all that handy noising. It just was driving me nuts when I was using these samples to hear. And it wasn't a nitpicky hearing. It was like, it's popping through my mix. I can't use this. This is not working. And that's why I spend a lot of detail. I mean, even to the nanosecond of where I actually cut something, because that, to me, makes a huge difference with how it performs and how it plays. And that's, one of the things I was very specific about with the piano in blue and how I cut the piano in blue, to make sure we heard, even if we didn't hear it, we felt it, the fingers hitting the keys and the hammers moving and the string vibrating. And I think that attention to detail is what makes good samples.
Yeah. Well, I guess another thing is, I think there's other developers that do this too. But, we profit share with all the musicians who play on our stuff and the engineers and the scripters and, because, I don't know, it's the right thing to do. And I know there's other developers that do that as well.
Yeah, that's great.
But
I think that's an important trend that most developers should do that.
We still admire greatly all the other companies that are out there. And we think they're valued with every single bit of product that they put out. Because it's something different. It's something they put their time into. And it is a lot of work to do sampling. I mean, it's a lot.
Okay, so we're getting a slurry of questions here about a certain instrument that I'm guessing you get this question all the time. You've done Cinebrass, you've done CinePerc, you've done CineWinds.
Strings. Cinekazoo.
Yeah. Strings. Anything you want to talk about strings?
Yeah. You got to ask this guy. He's the orchestra contractor. And
Noah, what's going on? When are you contracting strings for us?
Well, That's a very good question.
How much do you want to divulge? Is it possible to do that in LA?
We're working really hard to try to make that a possibility with the AFM, because I think the right thing to do is to do it using the AFM agreement that we use for Cinebrass, for strings, in order to get, you know, the best players and to make it fair for everybody. You know, if it's going to happen or not, it's up in the air. It's all about negotiating with the AFM, but we'll see. I guess that's the best answer.
So it's kind of like we have plenty of ideas. We would pull the trigger today if we could.
Right.
We just want to make sure we do it right, and you know, that everyone understands. And that's kind of going to lead into your final question of like, how can you have a sampling company and a company that's promoting live music at the same time? And I think that's what that's kind of the crux, because some people see samples as the possibility of completely wiping out live music. If they get that good, why do you need musicians anymore?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the big debate. That some of the older guard.
Someone did. I don't know who it was. Said, it's these Cinesample guys. Like he's someone on the board. Or I don't know.
Yeah.
It was like, these Cinesample guys. Why are they doing this live music Hollywood scoring thing? Isn't that going to put Cinesamples out of business? I'm like, I
hope that all your viewers and composers that are watching this did not get into composing and writing music to sit in front of a computer and program mock-ups. And I don't think they did, because there's nothing like standing in front of a 90-piece or 120-piece orchestra in a scoring stage and having your product come to life. There's an energy there that a computer cannot capture. It doesn't matter how good the samples are. But samples are a way that composers write music now, and it's just expected that the producers expect to be able to hear what the music sounds like before you show up at a stage. The days of Jerry Goldsmith showing up with a score, a week before the movie is going to be released is gone. And, maybe, and that's a bad thing, because, he wrote some great stuff that probably in today's marketplace would never have gotten approved.
So when should a composer make that jump? Say they're really good at doing MIDI stuff. Say they're using all your samples and it just sounds, as good as it can get. How do they know they need to now take it to a real orchestra?
Well, I think it's really important that those guys, go to school, that guys and gals go to school and experience what it's like to work with live musicians. And, even if it's just bringing in a couple real players on your small budget projects, even if, let's say you have $5,000 for a little TV spot or something, even if you have 2 or 3 musicians come in just to work with a player and see the depth that they can bring to a performance, even with the samples, just a sweetening session basically, makes such a big difference, I think, for the product that they have. And you get gigs because your stuff sounds the best. And I think, the more and more that you experience working with live players, the better your stuff's going to sound.
Yeah, well, I think that everyone kind of has the same tools now. Everyone has the same sample libraries, and you have to do something to set yourself apart.
Absolutely.
So the way to do that is, put some human beings on your recording.
If everything sounds like a computer made it, sure you can change dynamics and you can do swells and stuff, but it's not the same as having 90 brains, that have studied their instruments for a collective 1,000 years, all making your music happen, come to life on that moment in the scoring stage. There's nothing like that.
Right.
And I don't think a computer will ever be able to duplicate that kind of a performance.
Right.
Well, and I think there's also a lost art to composing in general. When you sit down with a pen and paper and with a piano and you just write out music, you're writing to the musicians. You're not writing to the samples. And one of the things that I do in a lot of my seminars is that I tell these kids, do not write to your samples. Think in your mind what the player is actually able to do and write beyond what the samples can do. Because samples will never, ever, ever be able to replace a live musician.
Well, hold on. It depends, right? If the final product is going to be live musicians, then yes.
That's what I mean.
But if you don't have the budget for that, you got to write for the samples.
Then you write for the samples, yeah.
I think the worst.
Do what sounds best.
I hate to address this, but composers need to know their worth, and if they are constantly working for peanuts and not demanding that we should at least have some live musicians on here, the art of music, people performing, studio musicians, is going to die out. There is kind of an obligation for composers, I think, to keep musicians employed, even if it's on a small scale. Whatever you can do I think it's really important.
Yeah. So we've got a video here of the making of the Freljord music. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah.
Which I'd like to show because I'd like people to see a behind the scenes kind of look at what we're talking about here of really getting in there and.
This is like so for Hollywood Scoring. One of our
go ahead. You can preface it first, and then we'll show it.
Such an awesome client to be working with, Riot Games, and they make this game called League of Legends, which is the most played video game in the world right now. But it's a game that no one's ever heard of. It's weird. So, we've been doing music for them for about a year now, and this is a new level that they just added to the game. And we wrote something like 30 or 40 minutes of music for this thing.
And exactly, we had some live players come in with some unique instruments and Riot. We love them. They use a AFM agreement. We do video game, the old video game agreement before the recent one that was published. But lucky enough to use that agreement, and we can do large orchestras. We just did almost a 90-piece orchestra 2 weeks ago at Fox for them, and then this is the Freljord one. So
yeah, this was fun.
It's really cool.
All right,
that's an icy level. So.
Yeah.
And who's the composer we're seeing on this video?
Okay, well, the composer at Riot is Christian Link, and he's a phenomenal composer. But on this, he kind of took a producer role, and kind of ran with it.
Sebastian and Alex Temple, two of our staff composers, wrote some stuff. Mike Patti wrote some stuff. Mike Berry wrote some stuff.
Great.
I think who orchestrated, Berry orchestrated.
We're kind of that's.
And then you contracted the whole project, Noah? Or?
I contracted it.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's kind of a collective team effort here to really create something cool and unique. So.
All right, so let's take a look at the making of the League of Legends Freljord music, and we'll see how this is all put together.
Music is a really powerful tool. We use this for Freljord to capture the identity, the compelling history, and some kind of the feel of the whole territory, this icy tundra and this icy place where growing up and living is a really, really difficult thing. The coolest part about being a composer at Riot Games is that every single day I can just walk through the rows of the art department. There's so much inspiration for everything. It instantly gives you this desire to create something that picks this up and is as unique and as compelling as these visuals. So I called up Alex Temple and Sebastian and Jean from Hollywood Scoring, and we sat down and started to develop this idea of Freljord's music.
The music of the Freljord map is built on this steady march rhythm that we feel has a weight that really helps you feel like you're in the middle of a battle.
We felt like the very typical orchestral elements and instruments don't fully give us the best idea of what Freljord can be like. Imagine that usually you have axes and swords and shields in your hands, and in your free time between slaughtering everyone, you found this tree and you play on it. We tried to think a little more outside the box and come up with our own ideas for what the instruments from that place should sound like. For example, a nyckelharpa, which is a really old traditional instrument from Sweden. It's a bowed string instrument, but it's keyed, so it has this very, very unique tone to itself that actually sounds a little icy when you listen to it on its own.
I think this instrument talks to your soul, and when it hits certain notes, you actually feel it inside.
The viola da gamba is some kind of a medieval version of the cello, and it also has a rougher tone. It doesn't sound as developed. The Freljord tribes are led by the three sisters, Ash, Sejuani, and Lysandra, and having female vocals made a lot of sense to us. So we had an Irish singer here.
We went for a non-classical type of voice, the type of voice that is better suited to convey the rugged and raw characteristics of Freljord.
We also brought on Lisa Thorne, who was a graphic designer at Riot Games and who sang the Diana piece, and she was kind enough to lend us her voice here again. The moment when we were done, and we threw all these different instruments and sounds together. It just clicks. You're just standing there and you're just like, oh my God.
Our hope is that over the next few months and years that we can start to unveil more and more of our world and give you guys a taste of the depth in the stories and the visual exploration that we've been doing in the last few years in a way that will expose more of the League of Legends universe.
All right, guys, we're back with you. That looks like an incredible project. How much have you guys learned over the past few years about instruments? I think what you guys are doing is, in part, introducing different sounds, different instruments, you know, whether it be percussion, an array of different percussion instruments that normal people might not know, the various flavors. And we see this video, I mean, we see the nickel harpa, and I don't even remember the name of it, that cello thing. You know.
Well, yeah. I don't think any of us really knew anything. I mean, we knew we wanted a bunch of cool, like, medieval/Renaissance instruments, and Noah really kind of just came up with a lot of ideas, and just, I don't know, that's the cool thing about being in LA, is you have this incredible wealth of musicians.
Any kind of instrument you want.
We just brought in as many people as possible. We gave them charts. It was kind of a more improvisatory kind of a session where they just played, layered stuff on top, and then we kind of made the compositional decisions after the fact.
So any
just like that sounded cool.
Any Renaissance library coming up in the near future?
Oh, we've been talking about that a lot.
Oh, I would love to do.
Or maybe even one-off libraries. You know, just the nickel harpa. Like, you know, we don't need like 30 different nickel harpa type instruments or something. You know what I mean?
There's always some, the evil genius down there has always got some ideas. So
the nickel harpa was his idea, by the way, for this thing.
Cool.
Like, what's a nickel harpa?
Find one, right?
It'll work. We looked up a picture of it on Google or something. I was like, oh, that thing's cool looking. Hope it sounds cool.
Yeah, I guess you got to test that first, huh? I want to make sure we get to some of these questions online here. So let's see. Going back to kind of what we were talking about before with making the jump from samples to recording real instrumentalists, whether it be just a few or full-fledged orchestra. CM Harris 07 asks, having the budget, well, I guess it's a statement, having the budget matters. So maybe, Noah, you can touch a little bit on, you know, you guys have created this awesome opportunity for people to use your services with Hollywood scoring.
Sure.
What kind of stuff is that going to set a composer back by? And is it worth the investment for pitching a project or a game project or a trailer project?
I actually get a lot of emails, and people are always like, well, how much does it cost? And the answer is the cost changes depending on what kind of project it is. So, you know, if you're doing a super low budget festival film, the AFM scale for that is $40 an hour for a musician. It's really cheap. With a 3-hour minimum, we're talking about $120 per player. So it's actually very low for festival films. So that, you know, there's that. If you're doing Iron Man 3 and you have a $300 million budget, of course you're not going to get $40 an hour, but at that point your music budget would grow. So, you know, it really depends on what kind of project. I just did a budget last night for a theme park. Someone wanted to know how much it would cost for, you know, to do some tracks for a theme park. So there's a scale for all of these things. If there isn't a scale, I negotiate for clients with the union to get a scale that works for their budget. So, I mean, there's a lot of potential. So, you know, it can be expensive. It sometimes is not expensive. It just all depends on the scope of each project. Video games have a special agreement, you know. and it's actually not that much on the front end. Of course, movies have special payments for the film, but video games, there's no special payments.
So what if I'm a composer in the middle of South Dakota or something, and I watch the show and I say, you know what, that sounds really cool. I have a little bit of extra money for this project, but I have no idea how to contact these people or how to run an orchestral session. What do you offer in terms of that to the composer who's maybe never done that next step before?
Right. We have a couple options. If they would go to hollywoodscoring.com, they can see our video about remote recording, where basically we would stream the session to your studio live, and we would run the session. You know, that's kind of what we do for Riot, although they show up and give us notes, but we really are in charge of the session. Mike Barry does the production aspects of notes. Mike Patti conducts. You know, and Sam's there with the Pro Tools stuff, and you know, we kind of all jump in there and produce it. So that's one way we can do it. The other way is we can, you know, just get everyone in the room, and then they can come in and fly in and run the session however they want. It's really up to the client, but you know, traveling gets expensive, so they can just link up with our HD streaming rig and basically be there at the session while we run it for them.
Yeah.
You know, we've been doing this for a long time now, so we're pretty smooth at running an efficient session where, you know, we can get between 5 to 10 minutes of finished music, depending on how complex the score is, of course, but finished music in the can. And, you know, a 3-hour session, you can get quite a lot of work done.
Yeah, and the thing is, with us, you just send an MP3 and a MIDI file.
We can take it from there, yeah.
And we'll do everything from that point forward. Orchestrate it, you know, copying, and then do...
So what's your, we've got some questions here asking about where else could people do this, and I don't know if that's related to trailer projects or not. Can you talk a little bit about, since this is kind of a trailer music-based show we're doing, is this available to trailer composers right now? And, well, the quick answer, from my experience, is not quite yet, but there may be some workarounds for some things. And then what's the future look like for that? And then... we'll take it to there first. And
Sure. Without going into too much detail, the short answer is Hollywood Scoring is trying to negotiate a specific trailer album agreement with the union that would be reasonable rate, offering a buyout option to people specifically for trailer library composers. You wouldn't be able to use it in a movie, you wouldn't be able to use it in a video game or anything like that on the initial. I mean, you can license it. You'll be able to license it however you need, but you wouldn't. It would have to be for your album first, and that's about as much as I could probably say at the moment.
But no, that's good information. At least, you know, since you're neck deep in it, you're working on it and
really working hard to try to get this. You know, I see it's a great opportunity for trailer composers as well as for Los Angeles musicians. I mean, with the infrastructure we have here, can yield the sound that trailer composers need for their albums. Basically, is you know, we can do it fast, and hopefully, you know, we'll be able to do it under an AFM agreement. So that's the goal.
Great. So let's see if we had any other ones. Okay, I think we're good on the questions for now. One thing we like to do often in these shows is show a little bit behind the scenes of the studios people are working in. So I think, Mike, you wanted to pick up the laptop and kind of show us around Sonic Fuel.
All right.
So I will just say to everyone else who's watching, before we end the show, if you have any other questions, make sure to type them in now or on Twitter or Ustream. And we'll ask a couple final questions before we end here. All right.
Well, this is Sam's room. This is very glamorous. So, Sam, where'd you go?
He's gone.
Well, all right.
Hey, Mike, can you stand behind the computer?
Okay. Well, I'll show you. This is the upstairs of Sonic Fuel Studios. We have a kitchen.
And a coffee maker.
And a coffee maker.
With really good coffee.
And a couch and some random instruments. And we custom sampled those instruments for the TV show Revolution. Christopher Lennertz is one of the owners of the building, and he approached us and said, "Hey, I need some custom stuff." And so Sam actually found those online,
It's a Marxlin and a Mando guitar.
Mando harp.
Mando harp. Mandolin guitar.
So yeah, this is the sound of revolution right here. Well, no.
Yeah,
sounds better. So yeah, that's kind of a side thing that we do sometimes when we have the time is do custom stuff for film composers. Okay, so we're coming down. This is one of the rooms. This is where Alex and Sebastian live. They're right now. They're at Warner Brothers. They're at a session for something we're working on. But that's Alex's setup, and these guys need to clean up in here.
How do they work back to back like that?
What's that?
How do they?
Oh, yeah, they just work with headphones.
Okay.
This is what I was talking about before. How we're all like crammed in, and we make it work. So
Next space will be better.
no, we love it here.
We love it here.
Let's
Just
see.
need more space, more rooms.
And this is Mike Barry's room, and also Sam Smythe. He's also
Indiana.
and Anne. So Mike's. It's not impressive. I don't know.
Hold on, go check out the leather lined wall.
Yeah.
The leather wallpaper is pretty key. You maybe can't see that.
No, Mike.
And the Civil War rifle up there. You know.
Yeah.
Mike would want us to mention that.
He's a Civil War buff. Posters. Oh, this was our so this is our trailer album. Our one and only trailer album. That's the other thing I wanted to say is, we kind of did try to move into the world of trailer music, but it's obvious that there are people who are way better at that and understand the business better than us. So we did do our first album though, and hasn't had much success yet, but we'll see.
Go listen to it at least.
Yeah, at least go buy it on iTunes or something. Is an ad we had on Sound on Sound magazine. I don't know. What else should we show? Can we show the live room downstairs? I don't know if the Wi-Fi signal will go all the way downstairs.
It does, actually. We might lose you.
Let's give it a shot.
Yeah,
here.
go for it. If we lose you, then the show's over. So thanks a lot.
I'm sure.
All right.
Miller. This is Miller.
The attack dog. Hey, we're doing a live sort of web stream. We're online. Do you mind being on camera? I'm online with it. This is our signal still working?
Yeah, we're good still.
This is Kiri. She kind of
really still.
Kiri runs the show here.
Hello.
She's a friendly studio manager. Yeah. Yeah. There's the Sonic Fuel logo. And there's a kitchen. All right, enough of this stuff. Let's get into the control room. Is there anybody in here? Hello. Sir?
We're gonna lose you, Mike. All right, Mike, head back out if you're still. Oh,
How are we doing? Signal still good?
we're almost losing you.
Am I back?
You're kind of back now, yeah.
All right. Well,
Live room. Still got us. Here's our live room.
Cool. So what kind of stuff are you recording in here?
We did some of the Freljord stuff was in here.
This is, yeah.
All Freljord.
That behind this was this one.
Cool.
Press. So, there you go.
Great. How many? I've got a question while you're walking back there. How many places like this are in LA or around where there is a collaborative of composers and kind of a team atmosphere like this, where there's lots of studios combined? Is this a unique situation, or have you seen this around?
Yeah, I think people know of, yes, there's some other studios that do that. But it's not just a bunch of freelancers It's
Trying to build something long term.
yeah, I mean, it's a bunch of young, early 20-something, really talented people who
Love their craft and
work full time and get to work on cool stuff. So it's a little different than some of the other models and some of the other big studios, where everyone's a freelancer and everyone just happens to rent a room in the same building.
Right. Great, guys. Well, let's see. We've got a couple final questions. Is Cinesamples planning on updating their legacy libraries, like Hollywood Winds, CineHarp, or any of the other ones that maybe were released early on?
Well, we did a CineOrg update not too long ago.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we will eventually.
Okay.
I think we が some work to do on some of the other stuff first.
And then our last question is from Evan J. Walsh. Thanks for tuning in, Evan. He says, amazing company. Do you offer any internships, or do you have any open positions? Or maybe we'll continue that question, since you did kind of an online contest before. Is there anything like that maybe in the near future that people could look forward to?
Yeah, sure. Why don't you email Sam?
Yeah, stay in touch with our Facebook pages, both Cinesamples and Hollywood
Yeah, I
Scoring.
think we'll post there if we're ever looking for more.
Yeah, and as soon as we need a position, we'll post there. And I do read all the emails. I do go through all that stuff. So, no.
Did we lose you, man?
No, we're good. We're good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It just looked.
Oh, that's okay. I was sitting really still.
But yeah, I mean, I actually do take time to listen to all the demos, believe it or not, because it is a nice diversion from chopping samples.
I would imagine as the company grows, we'll certainly need more people, talented people. So
great. Well, that's exciting news, guys. We're out of time now, but this has been absolutely amazing, super informative for everyone who's watching, and entertaining, and it's really cool what you guys are doing both on the sample side and the contracting side and the scoring side, and being able to manage all those projects is quite fascinating. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to before we go?
Well, no, Greg Curtis is watching. So yeah. What's up, Greg? He owns the Bridge Recording Studio, which is a great studio in Glendale. So
we'll plug for the Bridge.
Great.
It's great. We use it quite often.
Yeah. And then where can people find you online? Your Facebook, Twitter, et cetera, et cetera?
Let's see. Well, Cinesamples is at Cinesamples. Hollywood Scoring is at HW Scoring. And then, do you have a Twitter? I think mine's at Mike Patti.
I don't Twitter.
Well, he doesn't Twitter.
HollywoodScoring.com, Cinesamples.com.
Yeah.
And then Facebook/Cinesamples, Facebook /
And we're working on updating the Hollywood Scoring website, and that will have a lot more content shortly. But right now we have a bunch of really cool videos there that you can watch about behind the scenes, remote recording, how to do mock-ups to MIDI to mock-up and stuff like that. That's there. That's very informative.
Great. Well, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll be able to catch up sometime again soon.
That's great.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Sure. See you, Nick.
See you later.